Hayden Locke, President and CEO of Marimaca Copper. We're developing the Marimaca Oxide copper project in northern Chile, a really exceptional and unique development stage copper asset that we're moving very quickly towards first copper.
Well done you, and congratulations on the very dramatic backdrop. Wins sexiest backdrop of the year. We thought we'd catch up with you. One, Constitution rejected. We talked a little bit about it last time out. Just wonder if there's any big progression there. And I guess the big news of the moment is Osisko Gold Royalty coming in for $15 million, and you know how that's all played out. So let's just start with the Constitution stuff. Just make sure people are kind of getting comfortable with Chile as a jurisdiction again. So any further fallout from that? Any sort of announcements by the government that you're aware of?
No, look, I think when people asked me about the result, I said it's actually an incredibly strong result for Chile, because what we know is 80% of people voted for a new constitution, but 62% of people voted against what was considered to be quite a radical new constitution. So what we know is the people of Chile do want change, but they don't want change at any cost, which is an amazing message to send to the rest of the world, that Chile is not, like many of the other countries in South America. It's far more sophisticated. The people understand what they're voting for. They think deeply about it, and they're not going to make bad decisions for their country.
Well, it's a little bit of design by committee with it, because there was like lots of change in the constitution. It was like rip up the old one completely, don't retain any of the good bits. But specifically to mining, with regards to the mining diaspora there, with regards to the government's mining ministry, environmental ministry, have there been any sort of further comments, or are they just reserving judgment at the moment?
No, I think there's been silence from that court as they sort of plan what the next steps are. And, I'm sure that there will be another attempt to rewrite the Constitution, because, as I said, the people do want change, but they want it to be done in a rational manner.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, a lot of independents standing, a lot of independents demanding some kind of contribution to the new constitution. So it'll be interesting to see how long this new version takes, if indeed it comes along within this parliament. So we'll stay on top of that one. Hayden Locke reporting from Chile. Osisko Gold Royalty. This is good news. Now, why do it? Why do this now? Again, look at the markets. It's pretty sticky out there. In fact, why don't you talk about the terms, and I think that will maybe inform the conversation.
So we wrote a new royalty for Osisko, and there's a couple of aspects of why we did the structure in the way we did. Many of your viewers may know that we have royalties on the projects over which we own buyback rights. Now, because the buyback rights were written well before we'd made a discovery, our ability to buy back what is quite a significant royalty is well and truly in the money. So there's quite a lot of value for us as a company in those buyback rights. And so the structure that we've come to with Osisko allows us to monetize the value of that buyback right in a very tax efficient manner, and not force us to go out and raise equity in what's a very challenging market. So, why did we do it now? Well, we did a huge drilling campaign this year, and like all junior companies that don't have any income coming in, money going out the door, and the balance sheet is in constant need of topping up to ensure we have enough to continue to move the project forward.
Okay, so what does in the money mean? 15.5 million from Osisko Gold Royalties. How much do you clear, and what do you do with it?
So we clear all of that, because we were unadvised on the transaction point of view, and then with the additional money, we're slightly over $20 million US. We have some land payments remaining, option payments that'll be the last lot of option payments that secures all of the title for us. But really, the money that we're getting in, will finish all of the project-related drilling. So there's some condemnation drilling, there's some more geotech, there's some geohydrological. But what we're really going to be focused on in the coming 6 to 9 months is moving forward on our permitting. And that's a huge work stream, but we're really focused on that, because that is the critical path for the project.
Well, it is, but let's stick with the deal itself as well. So 15.5 million, you clear that, plus with existing cash, you're sitting, 20 million bucks or so. So that's good news. But Osisko get what? They get a 1% NSR. You get. Do they pick up any equity on that, or is it pure NSR?
Pure NSR, 1% on effectively on the Marimaca oxide deposit, and then on 2 claims that form part of the Mercedes target. So slightly expanded area of interest, but still relatively, we've got to give them some upside. And then we will retire the 1% on the Marimaca 1 to 23 royalties, which is more than 50% of the production in the PEA that we put out. And we'll retire 0.5% from the La Atomica royalties, which is about 30% of the production from the PEA. So the net change in royalty is somewhere below 0.4% on the project.
Got it. Okay. So that's the interesting bit. I guess the other interesting bit is in terms of cleaning things up, as it were, what that does for project finance going forward. Again, there's, I guess, some gains to be had there in terms of the way that financiers would look at this deal otherwise.
Yeah, and I think also the other benefit is, Osisko is a very well-respected group and have an exceptional technical track record. And, we've already received several incoming phone calls saying, you weren't on our radar before, but you are now as a result of their announcement. Because if they like the project, then there's something for us to have a look at.
Well, that's the point. No one buys in NSR if they don't think it's getting into production. So, in terms of those conversations around funding, or was that in terms of strategic partners, or was that in the context of companies like BP making announcements that copper is their number one commodity that they are going to be focused on?
No, it's more around funding, potential funding partners looking at, okay, well, if you're going to try and get into production, we'd like to be a part of that discussion.
Right. Okay. So you've kind of laid out what you're going to be focused on, and you've got the capital to do this. Your take on the copper markets at the moment, because it's taking a bit of a breather. Are you seeing any green shoots?
Not at the moment. I think there's a lot of we have had a lot of inbound interest from investors who I think still believe in the long-term thematic and are potentially seeing this as a buying opportunity. But I think overarchingly, people are still concerned about what's happening with inflation and what's going to happen with interest rates, and therefore what's going to happen with global economic growth. I mean, where we are in the UK, we're obviously in a bit of an energy crisis, and I don't think there's any end in sight at this point. Although I had a meeting yesterday where they were talking about inflation rolling off and potentially, we are seeing the other side of it. So I will keep my fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of interesting bit, because we've had a few companies come on over the past few weeks who've put out, meaningful studies, economic studies, and the market's reaction has been a sort of shrug of the shoulder and look the other way, and companies have reacted differently to that. There's someone said, we're okay. Well, if that's a reaction, we're kind of downing tools and we're going to sit and focus on desktop studies and not waste money in the ground if we're not going to get value for that. And others have said, well, we've got to keep moving at a pace because the market could change at any minute. And we're starting to see things like reagents and chemicals and fuel starting to come down a bit. But it's a long way to go. So your reaction is what? With 20 million in the bank, I guess you've got a few options, haven't you?
Yeah, we're not going to go out and rush. We're not going to be super aggressive, but we form the view that, moving forward and ensuring that we're shortening that timeline, especially on the permitting, is money well spent regardless of when you spend it. Because, as I say to our team internally, every 6 months that we delay is another $50 million of NPV for us. So time is our enemy in terms of return for our investors.
Okay, but what would you? Okay, apart from time, because time's money, and that's always the case. So, what are the kind of the red flags for you going forward that you need to either navigate or slow down as you approach?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's a red flag. It's more we know that in order for us to get to first copper, which is the overarching goal of the company, the permitting side is the critical path for us. So every month that we delay on our permitting work stream is a month added before we can get to our first copper production. So that's why the focus is almost exclusively on how do we move that permitting forward and how do we ensure that we get permitted in short order. From a project perspective, there's nothing surprising coming out of the work that we've done. So there's nothing that concerns me at all. If we were to be trying to raise a significant amount of equity in the current market, okay, maybe I'd be a little bit more concerned, but we have no financing needs in this current market. And between now and when we actually get to financing, I'm sure we'll see some change in the market again.
Right, and talk to me. Sorry, I want to get a little bit granular with you here because I want to kind of try to help people understand Chile. We talked about the constitution this time and last. We've seen a few companies fall at the last hurdle with regards to the Ministry of the Environment, getting those environmental licenses, EIA, DIA, across the board. How is your company, how's your board viewing, again, navigating that in the context of, one, the constitution being rejected, how the same people are in those departments with the same agenda, it seems? Is it a case of we just need to work a little bit harder and meet their expectations? Or is this going to be a case of banging your head against a brick wall until there's a sort of change of government? Because as an investor, I want to feel that companies have a chance if they do things the right way. People are looking very hard at what happened at Rio 2 with their gold project. Different part of the country, obviously, but nevertheless, that's the kind of big moment that I think for people looking in, and they say they want some level of comfort from you. Have you got any words of comfort? Yeah,
well, look, I think going back to the last conversation we had, there are nuances to every single project which are not specific. You can't just be thinking about this as a single country and therefore the same rules apply to every single project. And I think I used the example of the iron ore project that was permitted. There have been some recent examples sent to me by our project team in country of projects that are moving through the permitting. And I think from our board's perspective, so we've done extensive reviews, several lots of reviews with different independent groups to give us their advice on how we should best navigate what is always a tricky time for a mining company. Going through this permitting process is always challenging. And all of the advice that we have is this project is incredibly well located in terms of minimising the risk of a negative outcome in terms of permitting. The one area that we don't necessarily have to focus on, but we've been advised by several groups that it is a new focal point for the administration in Chile is stakeholder engagement. So remember our location, we have no local stakeholders, we have no local landowners, we have no local villages on our plant site. The closest town is 25 kilometres away. And although technically we wouldn't have to engage with them from a stakeholder perspective, the advice we've been given is, given the new framework that's occurring in Chile, it would be wise to do that in some way, shape or form so that people can have their say over how the projects are developed. So that's a focus for us, but otherwise it's we don't see any significant concerns as a result of our project's location.
Right, and I think you said to me last time they're not necessarily viewing copper and gold projects differently as well. And then just one again, a little reminder, and I think we talked about it last time out, which was in terms of the increased time and money this will take you to deliver against this new framework. Does it impact the bottom line much?
Well, again, there's two different tracks, where the DIA and the EIA tracks. The EIA, there is the potential that there's more onerous studies to be done. As a function of the overall project cost, no, it doesn't cost you more money. What it does cost you is more time. And, as you alluded to, time is money for a pre-production company like us. So there is an implicit cost in the project value, but actual dollars spent, it's not onerous to do it. It's more, how long does it take you to complete the work that they're asking you to complete? And that is a difficult question to ask until you get into the engagement with the authorities.
Right, but for now, you're a Chile company through and through, not looking elsewhere in terms of trying to enhance the story any?
Well, we've had a lot of people come in and offer us. We're always looking for opportunities to try and create value. But one of the things I say when people bring us opportunities is, I don't want to dilute what I think is one of the better, if not the best, undeveloped copper asset by looking at something else. It would have to be a pretty damn good project for us to consider doing something else.
Okay. Hey, I better let you get back to it. I know you're rushing off to deal with an urgent matter. So we'll see you soon. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks.